Thank you. Friends and family, I ask that you please rise. I present to you the Fuqua School of Business Daytime MBA and Accelerated Daytime MBA classes of 2025. Everyone, please be seated. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Fuqua's 2025 Daytime MBA Commencement Ceremony, a day we've long awaited. I'm Mary Frances Luce, Interim Dean of the Fuqua School of Business. It is a significant honor and privilege to preside over my first graduation ceremony as Dean and recognize the academic achievements that have brought you to this moment. Today marks a dream realized, the culmination of rigorous study, intellectual growth, and challenges overcome. You did it. We are all I did. We are all so extremely proud to celebrate you today. I also want to begin by acknowledging those who have contributed to your success along the way. First of all, to your family and friends for providing support and encouragement when the demands of a Fuqua education required it. So to those of you here today to support our graduates and those of you all over the globe cheering on our graduates, thank you. Let's give them a round of applause, family and friends. Of course, there's more. To Fuqua's exceptional faculty, many of whom are seated here today to again celebrate you, for sharing their expertise and creating the conditions for you to lead with perspective and insight. Thank you. To the program staff, we'll do the rest at the end. You can do the rest at the end. To the program staff who helped guide and shape every day of your experience and who worked so hard to make this graduation weekend wonderful. And finally, to you, our graduates, for supporting each other along your journey towards academic excellence. Each one of you here, I know, has been supported by many others and has supported many others. Your experience gives meaning to Team Fuqua. So let's give a round of applause to everybody who made today possible. Today's ceremony celebrates both what you have accomplished and who you have become. It marks the end of your studies and the beginning of your impact as a Fuqua graduate. As you prepare to apply your knowledge in the world beyond Duke, let's continue our celebration with remarks from Tanner Morgan and Colette Spriggs, who have served, yes, yay. Tanner and Colette have served with true excellence and distinction as our MBAA co-presidents, and they have some remarks to help inspire your journey ahead.
Thank you, Dean Luce. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tanner Morgan, and I have the distinct honor as serving as one of the MBA co-presidents, which also means I have the even greater honor of speaking first, before your attention spans wear out and your applause becomes just a little too polite. I struggled for a long time about what to focus this speech on. My first thought was a list of everyone who's wronged me. But that list would be too long, and I didn't want any more parallels between me and Sheldon Cooper from The Big Bang Theory. Whoever's in that back corner, you're in my spot. Instead, I decided to start with this. Thank you. Thank you to every partner, parent, family member, faculty member, administrator, classmate, friend, and mentor, especially those who couldn't be here today, who helped us get here to this moment. If you're anything like me, sometimes we forget to slow down and recognize those that helped us get to where we are. While we may each walk across this stage alone, none of us got here alone. There's a song I like that says, "I try so hard not to take for granted the very things that I cherish most, and lose sight of all the blessings I've been given, and overlook the gifts I've been bestowed." This resonates with me because I know I've been given more than I could ever earn on my own. It's easy, especially in a place like this, to focus on what's next. But these past 2 years have reminded me again and again, we don't get here on our own. At Fuqua, we talk a lot about Team Fuqua. It's one of those phrases that means something different to everyone and yet exactly the same to all of us. For me, I found Team Fuqua most personally in my C-Lead. For those not familiar, your C-Lead is a team that you're randomly assigned to when you start your MBA. You take all of your first-year classes together and do every group project together. It's basically a forced business marriage. But I won the lottery. My C-Lead became some of my closest friends at Fuqua. Some would say my only friends at Fuqua. We pulled all-nighters, carried each other through rough weeks, and were there for each other in moments that mattered. When one of us recently had twins, we celebrated. When I lost my grandfather recently, they were there for me. We've traveled to Japan together and even have a wedding coming up for one of us. These people didn't just make business school bearable, they made it unforgettable. And I know we'll be in each other's lives long after this chapter ends. That's what Team Fuqua is. It's not about branding or ranking, it's about belonging. It's about knowing that you're not alone. And that spirit won't fade after graduation. It's a community we'll have for life. If I'm being honest, thankful isn't just a theme I chose for this speech. It's something I've wrestled with for a long time. Because if I really think about what it took for me to stand here today, honestly, I don't feel proud at first. I feel really humbled. I think about my wife. We've been together for 12 years since high school. I would not be here without her. For 2 years, she carried more than her fair share. She provided for us financially, she sacrificed weekends, evenings, and countless moments of normalcy so I could be a student again. I'll admit she didn't always like that part. She is the reason I could give so much to this program, and I'm so thankful to her in ways I can never be able to describe. I think about my co-president, Colette, the best partner I could have asked for in this role, and truly my best friend from Fuqua. We came into this place as friends, having met at Blue Devil Weekend, and miraculously, we stayed friends through it all. That's not a given when you're co-president of anything. Our approaches may have differed, but our judgments always aligned. I think about my parents and grandparents. who gave everything they could so I could chase opportunities they never had, who taught me to work hard, to be my own man, but most importantly, to never compromise what's right. I think about my ancestors, many of whose names I will never know, but whose sacrifices echo through every opportunity I've been given. Similar to me, some of us in this room are the first in our family to ever achieve this level of education. Some of us are walking down paths paved by others. Either way, none of us made this journey on our own. And that's what I want to leave us with today. When we walk out of Cameron with our degrees, we'll be asked to lead companies, to build teams and to manage crises, maybe even launch something new. But I hope we never forget to lead with gratitude, because gratitude changes how we show up. It reminds us that leadership isn't just about being in charge, it's about being accountable for others. It shifts the question from what do I deserve to what can I contribute? And it turns success from a personal achievement into a shared responsibility that we should always pay it forward. Fuqua gave us more than classwork or cases, it gave us people. Lifelong friends, future co-founders, maybe even a few wedding dates. Some of the deepest relationships we'll ever have started here, whether over a WhatsApp chat, in a team room, or over a ridiculously overpriced cup of Bon Appetit coffee. So before I close, I want to ask something of my fellow students, just for a moment. Take a few seconds to think about the people who were there for you, the ones who believed in you before you believed in yourself, the ones who stayed up late for you, who prayed for you, who paid bills for you, gave great advice, or made any type of sacrifice for you. And try to count them. When I try to count my blessings, I lose track. And it really stops me, because there's no way I could ever pay them back. But I think that's the beauty of gratitude. It's not about repayment. The truth is, we're going to face challenges. Really big ones. In our careers, in our families, in the things we hold in the silence of our hearts. Gratitude helps give us perspective, reminding us to zoom out and to see the full picture, not just what's in front of us. It keeps us grounded when things feel shaky and humble when things go well. It helps us resist the urge to isolate and instead to reach out, rely on others, and remember that we're not alone. So to my classmates, thank you. Thank you to the hallway conversations, the fun memories like Tab Tuesdays, when I made them, and the little moments that turned strangers into family. Thank you for being the type of people I'm proud to graduate with. To my MBA cabinet, y'all are freaking rock stars. Thank you for being the best of Team Fuqua and for sacrificing to make the experience the best it could be for everyone here. To the Fuqua staff, including the Office of Student Life, registrars, building management, alumni relations, the dean's office, and countless others, we owe you a tremendous debt of gratitude. Thank you for all the work you do behind the scenes, like today, with no expectation of recognition to make Team Fuqua a reality. We see you and we appreciate you. To the families and partners, thank you for believing in us, investing in us, and walking with us, especially because I know we're not always the easiest to deal with. My hope for all of us is that we live lives worthy of the people who brought us here, that we try to give at least as much as we've been given. So congratulations again. Let's give a round of applause to the class of 2025. It is now my pleasure to introduce my MBA co-president and best friend, Colette Spriggs.
Hello, I'm Colette Spriggs, and I had the sincere privilege of serving as the MBAA co-president alongside my great friend and trusted partner, Tanner Morgan. It is an honor to be speaking to you today, and I promise I did not use ChatGPT to write this speech. At least, not all of it. I will also note that I am riding an emotional roller coaster thanks to the pregnancy, so please bear with me if I tear up. It's all love and the hormones. On behalf of all of us graduates, I want to express my deepest gratitude to everyone in the audience and everyone watching online. Thank you so much for supporting us. Whether you're a parent who has been cheering us on from day one, or a friend who gave us that extra nudge when the road looked a little too daunting, or a very proud sister-in-law reminding all the other baseball moms why they will be missing this weekend's tournament, thank you for being an essential part of who we are and why we are here. I'd like to especially thank my husband, Michael, for tirelessly and selflessly supporting me through this journey. He is my keystone. He keeps everything together. This degree is his as much as it is mine. To our incredible faculty and administration, thank you for keeping Fuqua a vibrant institution at the forefront of business education and societal impact. You have challenged us, encouraged us, and ensured that we leave here as well-rounded leaders of impact. And finally, thank you to each and every one of you, our classmates. You are the reason Fuqua is special. You've made this experience richer, more meaningful, and more complete for all of us. You can learn accounting and economics anywhere. We chose Fuqua for the people. And on behalf of your classmates, we are sincerely grateful for your decision to come to Fuqua. It is absolutely wild to look back on this journey that we've taken together over the past 2 years. Starting with orientation, seeing your section for the first time, meeting your C-lead, shout out to my C-lead, and getting our first taste of academics with summer term. And if you remember, in Leo, we were taught that groups become especially close when they experience shared trauma. I remember hearing that and thinking, is that why people say everyone becomes best friends at Fuqua? What have we gotten ourselves into? And we did all become so tight-knit, but not because of the whole shared trauma thing, though let's be honest, we barely survived the core. We are all so close because we each brought our whole authentic selves to building Team Fuqua. Alongside all the challenges, we had 2 years that were jam-packed with shared joys and shared triumphs. There were the big moments, section barbecues, Fuqua Friday, formal, and camp out. And the small moments, trying a new cuisine that your friends cooked for you, reminding each other to check in, singing happy birthday in the hallway during breaks, and going grocery shopping with someone who just became a new friend. All of these moments brought us together. They helped us build deep friendships and a vibrant community that we can rely on for years to come. As I was reflecting on my time here for this speech, one theme kept popping up, or more like a feeling, one I think many of us are familiar with. I'm glad we talk about it openly, and I hope through our growth at Fuqua, we have learned to keep it at bay. And that is imposter syndrome. We all struggle with it in some form, myself included. I mean, am I even qualified to be a Fuqua graduation speaker if I've never been to TAV Tuesday? But seriously, I started thinking about what kept me going when everything felt overwhelming or daunting, or when I felt inadequate and like the house of cards was going to crumble at any minute. And one phrase kept coming back to me. It's simple, but it got me through a lot, and I'd like to share it with you. Ain't nothing to it but to do it. That mindset has carried me, and maybe carried all of us, through the big leaps and quiet moments of self-doubt. Think about when we applied to Fuqua. I know I asked myself, me, accepted into a top 10 MBA program, quit my job, risk financial security? Some of us moved our families halfway across the world. Some of us jumped into a program not taught in our first language. But even with all the unknowns, we took the leap. Ain't nothing to it but to do it. And while we were here, many of us had doubts. I have an English degree. Do I really have what it takes to recruit investment banking? I'm swamped with classes. Can I take on the responsibilities of a club president? There's a second year that I don't know that has an internship that I'd like. Can I ask them to lunch? And yet, we crushed it because we kept going and didn't shy away from the challenges. Ain't nothing to it but to do it. Now, as you head out into the world with your shiny new MBA, I want you to carry that mindset with you. I want you to walk into every room knowing that you belong there. I want you to trust that your voice matters in every conversation. And I want you to carry the conviction that your ideas can transform for the better. And when you don't, and when you believe otherwise, you do yourself and the world a great disservice. So when you ask yourself, should I go for that promotion? Should I quit my job and start my own company? Should I move to another country for a new opportunity? Remember, you have your MBA from Fuqua. You've got the tools, the credentials, and your Fuqua community behind you. You are equipped to do anything you set your mind to. And remember, there ain't nothing to it but to do it. So I'll leave you with this. My dad always said, an education is the most important thing you can pursue because no one can take that away from you. So as we enter this next chapter, I hope we carry the best of Fuqua with us. That spirit of collaboration, curiosity, and kindness. I hope we stay bold enough to push ourselves to our full potential and humble enough to never stop learning. I hope you keep believing in yourself because I certainly believe in you. And here you are, graduating from Duke University's Fuqua School of Business with your Master of Business Administration, and no one can take that away from you. Today, together, we graduate. Congratulations. It is my pleasure to introduce our student-elected speaker, Matias Votopernales. Matias is highly regarded by his peers for his leadership contributions, his acumen and work ethic, and his extremely positive disposition. Please, let's welcome him up.
When I started thinking about how to prepare this speech, I quickly realized how challenging it is to try to represent nearly 400 people, especially when everyone is so well-rounded and yet so diverse. The only answer that came to mind was this. You need to share something that might serve your children in the future, those who, together with your wife, will be the most important people in your world. When they grow up and stand at the edge of a big adventure, just like the one ahead of us, class of 2025. First, I want to say that it is an honor for me to represent you all on this special day. I'm proud to be part of such a positive and talented group of people. And I think I can safely say that everyone here is proud of each other too. I remember the many conversations I've had with prospective students. You've been through this, many. And how often they ask me, with a bit of skepticism, what I really thought of Team Fuqua. And my answer, probably similar to some of yours, was usually something like this. Before coming here, I thought Team Fuqua was just a brilliant branding differentiator, something admissions created to stand out from other top programs. And while that may indeed be true, once you're here, you realize it's real. From a very personal perspective, what I think Fuqua does best is the way it filters for values fit. And we've been lucky, because that filter brought together this genuinely good group of people. To all our guests, whether you're here in person, joining virtually, or watching the ceremony later, you've been, and will continue to be, an important part of our lives. On behalf of this inspiring and one-of-a-kind class, thank you for being the supporters who helped us get here. Thanks to our families, partners, children, friends, teachers, staff, and mentors, the entire support network that made this journey possible. To everyone who has their parents here today, cherish the time you have with them. Life after the MBA can get really busy, but let's not forget that we are who we are because of them, through the good and the not so good. If we're here today, it means that the balance has been positive, so let's be thankful for that. And for those of us who don't have our parents or other loved ones physically present, rest assured they're still with us in this journey, proud of every step that we take. I'd like to share 3 reflections from a song my mother left me, one that holds deep meaning for me. It's called Haz de Luz, originally in Spanish, but I've done my best to try to translate it for you, so bear with me. I hope you learn how to follow in others' footsteps while recognizing the toll that often comes with the desire to leave your own mark. We're set to do great things, and I have no doubt we have the potential to make a real positive impact in the world. But let's not forget the trade-offs, the sacrifices, and the weight that may come along the way. So enjoy the process, and whatever your main thing is, keep the main thing your main thing. I hope you take the time to count every second it takes for an hourglass to empty. We're living in a world that moves faster every day, and technology will only continue to accelerate that pace. So let's be intentional about slowing down. Be present. Read a book, spend time in nature, play with pets and children, have deep conversations. Enjoy the simple things, and don't neglect what brings you peace of mind. I hope that you see everything, especially the most important things, though, paradoxically, the greatest ones tend not to show themselves, or they're only seen with closed eyes. Maybe that's why we close them when we kiss, when we cry, and when we dream. I think this one speaks for itself, so I simply hope it finds meaning in you too. For many Latin Americans like myself, and I'm sure many of my friends from other continents will feel the same, coming to a university like Duke, to a program as strong as Fuqua, living in this beautiful city, surrounded by nature and peace, and spending each day with so many capable people, it's truly felt like a dream come true. We've lived an opportunity that very few people in the world will ever get. Let's recognize how valuable that is, and let's give the best of ourselves to make a positive impact wherever we go. It brings me joy to see how much we've all grown in these last couple of years. Even families have grown. But that growth shouldn't stop here. Let's keep striving to be better people every day. I have no doubt that the compound effect will do wonders. We now have the tools to create meaningful change throughout our lives. The rest is up to us. So wherever life takes each of us next, my only wish is that we always do our best. You don't need to have all the answers yet. Just have the courage to keep asking the right questions. Let's be authentic, but also flexible. It's possible we won't always be doing what excites us the most, but let's try to fall in love with what we do. And if we need to change down the line, let's do it. We're capable of it. Because life is too short to settle for things that do not make us happy. I really hope we all end up doing something we can be truly passionate about. Times change, life makes us grow, and our future will be shaped by the decisions and actions we choose from this day forward. So I invite you to make both our younger and older selves proud, to continue to become the protagonists of our own stories, and to create the kind of memory that years from now we'll look back on and say with gratitude. In 2025, we finished our MBA. we became more aware of our potential and of our capacity to make the world a better place. And we made that choice to keep striving to become our best selves throughout life. So, class of 2025, are you ready for this big adventure? Thank you.
Thank you, Tanner, Colette, and Matthias. I invite you now to join your classroom, your classmates. We've got your chairs here. So, thank you. At this time, I would like to take just a quick moment to acknowledge and congratulate two members of the Fuqua faculty. The first is Udayan Vidya, who received the award for innovation and teaching in a core class. The second is Ilya Farakuti, who received the award for innovation and teaching in an elective class. These awards were presented at our annual awards ceremony held earlier this week. Congratulations. All right, great, thank you. I now have the pleasure of introducing our esteemed commencement speaker for this afternoon. One of the hallmarks of leadership is bravery, the courage to innovate, navigate through challenges, and make critical decisions when the stakes are highest. Few people embody this quality more than General Martin Dempsey. His remarkable journey began at West Point and then brought him to Duke, where he earned his master's degree in English, a foundation that perhaps explains his reputation as a thoughtful communicator and a leader of true character. During his 41 years of military service, General Dempsey led our armed forces through complex global challenges, eventually becoming the highest-ranking military officer in the United States. He is one of only 22 people in the history of this country to lead all branches of the U.S. military as the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. His influence has been recognized worldwide. General Dempsey was named one of Time's 100 most influential people, and he was knighted by Queen Elizabeth. We at Fuqua are particularly fortunate that General Dempsey has chosen to share his expertise with our students as a member of the Fuqua faculty. His courses on leadership draw from experience that few in the world can match. Today, I am honored to welcome this distinguished general, fellow Blue Devil, and exemplary leader who reminds us that exceptional achievement springs from purpose, principle, and courage. Please join me in welcoming General Martin Dempsey to the stage.
Yeah, I know what you're all thinking. I thought knights were tall and handsome. No, they all look like me. They're kind of short and homely, but yes, I am. You know, all of the thanks that has come before me, I just want to reinforce that. You know, I know that these young men and women here today, the Fuqua class of 2025, Masters in Business Administration, would be the first to tell you that earning a degree of this magnitude from an institution of this prestige is a team effort. And that was clearly reflected in the comments by the three of you. So thanks for sharing that. And I hope you all felt it. By the way, that's one of my themes here today is you know, you really need to make sure you take time to go through life and feel what you're experiencing. It'll make you a better leader as well. When I retired from the military, I had one simple standard for what I wanted to do next, and that was this. I had been very proud to wear this uniform for 41 years, and I loved walking through airports and somebody would say, "What do you do?" And I'd say, I'm a soldier, or I'm in the Army. And or we served together in the past. And I was just so proud to be able to say that. And so what I wanted to do in a second career, I wanted to be proud of it. And that's why I came here. I came here in 2016 and began teaching and really understood, first of all, I knew I'd made the right decision and really understood what Duke's motto, building leaders of consequence, really means. So my opening challenge to you is this: you now own that reputation, as I do and as many of the people on this stage do. And so as you go through the rest of your career, consider that not only a blessing, but a bit of a burden, because you are now responsible for preserving that reputation. I'm going to wait just for a moment here, Dean Luce, if I could, to actually congratulate the students, because I want to personally assess whether they're actually ready to walk across the stage. So if I may, would you graduates please stand for a moment? You probably need to get a little blood flowing anyway. So I'm pretty sure you've all heard of James Corden, who came to fame by inventing carpool karaoke. I'm sure you've heard of that, right? You probably don't know it, but at about the same time that he was riding through the streets of Liverpool with Paul McCartney, I invented graduation karaoke. One of us became famous in our invention. Graduation karaoke works like this. I've chosen two popular songs, one from my era and one from yours. I'm going to sing the first line of each song in turn, and I will point to you when it's your turn to fill in the next line. If along the way you fail to correctly sing the lines, I will have no choice but to conclude that you have been excessively one-dimensional in your studies, and I will recommend to Dean Luce that she hold you back for one more year. So let's get started. From my era, the incomparable Frank Sinatra and the song New York, New York. Remember, I'm going to point to you and you have to respond. Start spreading the news. Well, that was about as weak as I've ever heard my... You know, I've been doing this a long time, and that was pretty weak. The line is, I'm leaving today. No kidding, you are. So get on, let's have some energy behind it. Start spreading the news. Okay, you passed the first one. And now, from your era, the Black Eyed Peas and the song, I've Got a Feeling. Remember I said, life is about feeling. I've got a feeling that tonight's gonna be a good night. That tonight's gonna be a good night. Ooh, ooh. All right, go ahead. Well done, by the way. Dean, I think they got it. Go ahead and take your seats. So the question I have is, do you feel it? Do you feel this moment? Because it would be easy to allow it to slip by. But don't let it slip by, because you've earned it. What you ought to be feeling is a tremendous feeling of accomplishment, a rush of adrenaline for the opportunities ahead, and a sense of the coming obligation to make a difference for those young men and women who will soon be entrusted to your care. Now, I know you all want to succeed, but have you ever really considered that as much as anything tangible, success is a feeling too? How many people have you seen who you think are wildly successful and yet they don't feel like it? Success is a feeling too. Look around you, by the way. When you walk into Cameron Indoor Stadium, it actually feels like success. It feels like the home of the country's premier basketball brotherhood and sisterhood. It feels like the home of the Cameron Crazies. It feels like a place where the Duke faithful gather to share a sense of belonging and a bit of frenzy a few dozen times or so each year. You're all about to become senior executives. You're also about to all become senior leaders. There's a difference. And a big part of the difference is developing this sense for feel. After 2 years in this MBA program, you're armed with the tools of success. Soon, you will be responsible for taking those tools and wielding them to produce results as executives. But as leaders, you will also be responsible to produce a feeling, to produce a sense of belonging, to build a team. Produce all four results: a positive feeling in the workplace, a genuine sense of belonging, and a team, and then you can claim success. Now, if you were all golfers, at this point, I would offer you a swing thought. Now, those of you in the audience who are golfers know that the swing thought is the final thought you should remember before you strike the ball. Of course, you're not all golfers, so you're all leaders. So I'm going to offer you a leadership thought. The poet I studied most closely during graduate school here at Duke was the Irish poet William Butler Yeats, among the most famous poets of the late 19th and early 20th century. As a young adult, Yeats fell in love with a young Irish woman named Maud Gonne. Yeats wanted her hand in marriage, and he was extraordinarily persistent. Over the course of several years, he proposed marriage to her once, and then again, and then again. For his fourth attempt, he decided to go to his strength and write a poem. In that poem, he implored her with these words: "I have spread my dreams beneath your feet. Tread carefully, because you tread on my dreams." The men and women who will soon be entrusted to your care have hopes and have dreams. In your quest to have the most successful department, organization, or company, remember to take care of your people, to learn to trust them and to earn their trust and to develop them. By the way, despite the poem, Maud Gonne turned Yeats down for the fourth time. I hope you have better luck. One final thought. I've often been asked during the course of my military career and afterwards how, during the course of that career, I dealt with the loss of soldiers who were killed or injured under my command. There is no harder question to answer, and I didn't always have the answer, but I did find one. In 2003, at a memorial service in Baghdad for a fallen soldier, a phrase came to me as I stood and awaited the chance to console and encourage the teammates of that fallen soldier. At the end of the service, I would make my move to console them and encourage them. That phrase was, "Make it matter." It struck me then, as it does now, that we all have a profound responsibility to make the sacrifices that others have made for us matter by making a difference both in our own lives and in the lives of others. That solemn duty, as I think of it, is not unique to the military. Each of us here today has benefited, as you've heard, from the sacrifices of others in our lives. I'd like to ask Dean Luce to join me up here at the podium for a moment. Dean Luce, since 2011, I've presented medallions to those I've encountered who live with a servant's heart. This medallion is in the shape of a dog tag, which is a symbol of trust in the military. On one side is the flag of the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and on the other is that phrase, "Make it matter." You have made it matter for your students through the years, including now as their dean. And so I would like to take this opportunity to present you this medallion in the presence of the great Fuqua class of 2025. Thank you all for the opportunity to spend some time with you on the last day of your MBA studies here at Duke University. Good luck, 25. Make it matter.
Thank you, General Dempsey. Thank you for your, you can go ahead and sit, but I have some. Thank you for your inspiring and delightful thoughts. We are so honored to have you here with us today. And I would like to present you with a small That was a small token of our significant appreciation for General Dempsey. And next, I am delighted to introduce Steve Misuraca, Associate Dean of Daytime MBA and MMS programs, who will conduct the special recognition of graduates. Your turn.
So it gives me great pleasure to recognize the Fuqua Scholars for the Daytime and AMBA class of 2025. I won't sing it, but that was tempting. Fuqua Scholars are those students whose cumulative grade point average places them in the top 10% of the graduating class. We've acknowledged this distinction in your program. Fuqua Scholars, please stand and be recognized. You can wave to your families too if you want. Wave to your families. It also gives me great joy to recognize the incredible group of second-year award winners who we recognize this Wednesday during a memorable finale in Janine Auditorium. Clubs of the Year, the Breeden Award for Finance, the Dean's Recognition Awards, Leadership Awards, Service Award, Mentorship Award recipients. We've also designated these award winners in your programs. Second-year award winners, please stand and be recognized. Okay. Just to pull one thing to you all, the class of 2025, as I said to you, as Coach K said to you on Wednesday, you will always be Duke. Congratulations, Team Fuqua, okay? So now is the time that we've been waiting for, to individually recognize each of our graduates. Mary Fran, General Dempsey, would you please step forward to congratulate these amazing students? Angus Bowers, I'd like you to come forward to read the names of our graduating MBA students.
Tanner Lane Morgan. Colette Virginia Wink Spriggs. Matias Voto Bernales Sorilla, Senior. Abdul Kadir Ayo Agbaje. Ridham Ugarwal. Kenneth Bo Allen. Annette Aharonian. Ankit Agarwal. Sunday Oluwaseyi Atoyebi. Orche Oros. Kanu Uwakanear. Nemu. Unchit Basu. Ashmin Akash. Shehzad Azamov. Clayton Alexander Burton. Diego Alvarez Maldonado. Alexis Joel Angula Osuna. Maisie Ains. Angela Chavez Carey. Kylie Nicole Casso. Irene Haijin Chang. William A. Candela. Benedict Ashiedu. Joy Funmi Akinfenwa. Ibrahim Abiola Ajetun Mobi. Aisha Adeyinka Balogun Yusuf. Oluwatobi A.O. Bello. Otufa Ugera Abalu. Papa Kwabena Anim. Emmanuel Adeleke. Chibuzo Chukwo Domebi Biosa. Rachel Bojanski. Haley Barton. Raimundo Castro Echeverria. Catherine Sofia Concepcion Buni. Andrew Joseph Burke. Andrew Ward Brooks. Caleb Bradley. Nicholas Michael Bruno. Samuel Alexander Bellamy. Jonathan Daniel Alston. Christopher John Bascom. Safa Al-Abbas. Khulud Al-Mohammadi. Tijani Ramon Christian. Alex Coney Boucher. Jesse Jamil Chambers. Sana Moore. Sarah Pauline Boston. Christian Lamar Bailey Burke. James Richardson Burris. Edwin Castro Arroyo. Zachary M. Kahn. Andrea Cano Sierra. Ricardo Chavel Diaz. Jorge Acevedo. Matthew Bickoff. Tayyaba Ali. Samantha Lee Sorensen. Sofia Avila. Ayushi Chowdhury. Melissa Callender. William A. Bartlett. Ellie Mack Baumgartner. Medu Bardwaj. Alexandra Sasha Barog. Tristan Albers Chari. Oluwatobi Adewadu. Jennifer Enamorado. Catherine Danielle Ellison. Orushi Chatterjee. Montserrat Echeverri. Mackenzie Davis. Manasa Chimpiri. Stephen Roscoe Fly, Jr. Justin Benjamin Depew. Belgute Enkbileg. Elsa Victoria Trevino. Francisco Espinosa Paz. Marcos Fiestas Rodriguez. Valentina Cortes. Claudia de Melo Einhorn. Nicholas Curduna. Abigail Marie David Corrigan. Jiamin Gu. Imisha Debuka. Frances Elizabeth Gurzenda. Carolina Davila Caceres. Jose Carlos Cortes Atunes de Mayolo. Diego Ilan Flores Moses. Yuting Chen. Meghna Danker. Anik Chima. William Griffin Santiago. Anand Rakesh Chokshi. Felipe Gurgel. Jai Correa Bastos. Eduardo Fitchman. Rebecca Hargreaves Lemos. Karina Ray. Bruna Sparenberg Ribeiro de Araujo. Tatiana Paliuso Paleques. Maria Brito de Assis. Nelima Gavinola. Siddharth Dua. Devanshu Uma Subhash Ganatra. Matthew Francis Flynn. Brandon Cook. Kiara Cooper. Steve Fico. Seamus Connolly. Peter Anthony Gallo II. Joseph James Didario. Julianne Elizabeth Dahlman. Rebecca Grimacy. Okay. Jackson Tiberius Funk. Adam Michael Davis. Colin James Franks. Mark Vincent Drulard. Rachel Marlene Denton. Brian Donaldo Graybill Torres. Aman Duvet. Deep Manoj Kumar Desai. Chelsea Pfizer. Shayna Goldrich. Siyun Dean. Hans Gross. John Thomas Freeman. Michaela Leanne Cubitt. Selena Dunbar. Chizoma Christine Ekchuku. Bianca Alexandria Marie Gauvin. Anna Maria Graham. Jacob M. Lee. Xiang Li. Eric Lan. Wenpuir Madina Kabore. Nadia Kumu. Spurti Kotla. Bhavya Kohli. Nita Kamat. Sai Kuragayalu. Dorel Casper. Luke Hartness. Amit Yalochevsky. Juan Pablo Larraín Langlois. Cade Charles Kenlon. Arturo Lopez de Lara Espinosa. Enrique Damian Loyola. Laura Jaramillo Gil. Manon Herbinet Muller. Alfredo Honorio Chumbe. Rodrigo Lopez Cabrera. Mafe Martins Rodriguez. Carlos Rodriguez. Dhruv Kurana. Jonathan Scott Lee. Taylor Scott Jameson. Vivek Kumar. Tejas Jugji. Praneet Vijay Kasture. Nikhil Kushyap. Manpreet Kaur. Caden Christian Johnson. Charles Taliaferro Lindsay IV. Tanya Kotecha. Amit Kumar. Shreya Khanna. Christopher Bradley Higgins. Oluwatobi Taiwo Lapite. Mercedes S. Jones. Frank Lucius. Michael Patrick Hitpus. Brian Hateman. Joe Janey. Jared Lorzel. Christopher Bruce Hall. Ji-won Hyun. Moon Jong Kim. Yoon Jin Kim. Hyun Ju Kim. Sonia Ji-young Lee. Jong Jeon Lee. Jae-seok Jung. Wonjun Jang. Ratachari Imjae Raich. Andy Han Lun Liu. Brandon Christopher Henton. Olivia Joe. Ribhab Hora. Zelda Hart. Benjamin Harris Jackson. Courtney Hedgecock. Kate Sayre Leff. Jeffrey James Lyons. Marla Harvey. Xiao Chao Li. Eric Richard Kirkpatrick. Lila Kalfus. Eloisa Giovanni Setefani. Alexander Greg Lissina. Osegale Ehayire. Gabrielle Waynette House. Kelly O'Toole. Medina Modi Fitzmaurice. Haluna Otgonhoyag. Shinaz Shurgil. Survi Mishra. Consuela Leva Crossley. Brendan Lucero Armas. Frexia Maldonado Negrillo. Sasha Hernandez Grau. Daniela Basso Mignano. Mariana Valle. Melissa Castro del Busto. Gian Luis Falcone Delfino. Raúl I. Meneses Rojo. Sebastián Merino Vial. Mikal Nutani. Ricardo Guimaraes Avila Mendonca. Adriano Mercadanci. Jahongir Norimov. Matthew Charles McKnight. Javahar Kohli Mariwala. Ryan Masheri. Jared Fletcher Mendel. Hiroaki Murakami. Jack Magri. Lucas Spencer McDonald. Ana Carolina Mejia. Elizabeth May. Margaret P. McCarthy. Awang Rose Morfall. Joy Mallory. Gregory Evan Marks. Alexandra Manbeck. Michaela Adrienne Maracini. Catherine Drew Marapes. Isaac Kayode Oyegbade. Sodik Babatunde Odetunde. Abimbola Olurotimi. Orbafunmi Lofa Olufunke Oshunsun. Sushma Maramreddy. Jake Arnold Minakuchi. Michaela Simone Nelson. Adifisayo Omilano. Andrew Ortiz.
Let's get it!
Takunda M.H. Muti.
Let's go, TK!
David Owusu Giebi.
No boy!
Uchechi Ngonadi.
Woo!
Prince Udokchukwu Okonkwo.
Thank God.
Tarang Matrod. Prachi Mahajan. Shashank Gautam. Ian Merrill Nublet. Mia Newkirk. Jordan Alexis Mullins. Hamlet Tatum Newsom III. Robert Griffin Miller. Fabio Vinicius Novaes Vieira. Ling Fuan Nguyen. Rahul Narung. Harish Nanjala. Matthew Fitzpatrick Morris. Ogene Runo Jacinta Obafemi. Jacob Smith. Jacob Stone. Austin Reisner. Kevin Patel. Sheridan Liam Riley. Riley Shu. Nicholas Charles Poston. Carlos Roca Rey. Gerard Ferdinand Pozzi. Julia Pasic. Kaylee Palangian. Pascual Ignacio Perazo Marino. Jack Andrew Promelsans. Tulio Raffin Mura. Mohamed Moyaldin Ramadan. Michaela Riva. Tatu Sacheri. Carlos Rutot Kreft. Payal Sharma. Chen Sun. Cameron Gray Pott. Masahiko Shimizu. Taylor Davis Smack. Amit Ashor Shingare. Amlan Praharaj. Urmi Paresh Kumar Patil. Grace Francis Paley. Aliyah Salon. Santiago Serna Villamil. José Penameño Alher. Luisa Ramirez. Julia Reifman. Andrew Joshua Schufer. Benjamin William Sistach. Ananya Sengupta. Vertika Shrivastava. Nikita Soni. Nicholas Schreiber. Jelani Scott. Eli Walker Schulman. Maxwell Dean Sumner. Aishwarya Raval. Nayanika Panikar. Alexandra Schultz. Kennedy Ralston. Sekwam Park. Ara Parseyan. So Sugiyama. Anirudh Rajasekaran. John Kenneth Rooney. Nick Sorokin. Isabella Laura Scribano. Asa Robinson Seeds. Morgan McKenna Purgandi. Ben Staffsleen. Sukrut Rane. Ria Philip. Nathan Scuderi. Philip J. Steinberg. Kirsten Schwepp. Michael Riley. Christopher Sikowski. Zachary Alexander Philip. Min Yen. Shweni Xia. Babatunde Yusufu. Ke Chu. Viet Tu Ta. Hiroto Yamamoto. Nishan Zhong. Wei Jie Yang. Radhika Udgirkar. Basil Thanklees. Jumana Tamar. Nandita Taplial. Shani Vinokur. Ori Torres. Camilla Tomei. Matthias Tomei. Zachary Barton Taddy. Vini Alia Yusria. Allison Danielle Zapara. Stephanie Nicole Thompson. Suvd Serenku. Meghna Viyakaranam. Melissa Inga Duran. Carla Cecilia Tejada Vicencio. Pablo Andres Tapia Caro. Sid Tripathi. Spencer Ryan Touch. Winnie Zhang. Sneha Tirkonod. Adam Michael Ungar. Karen Vanderpoy. Samuel Weldon. Jared Yu. Andrew Zhang. Benjamin Charles Vashore. Pakasupang Wongwachirawanich. Amy Jiling Zhang. Kathleen Wall. Kelsey Worsham. Alexandra Hitchcock Wilson. Catherine Weatherby. Elizabeth Tucker. Lepong Wei. Connor James Weiss. Vishesh Verma. Caroline Lee Wilzinski. Olivia Lee Wangaman. Matthew Donald Wofford. Chuck Woodard. Chang Hyun Yoon. Caleb Gregory Walker. Henry Newman White. William Gregory York. Vikas Vala. Carly Tong. Herman Yu.
I'm really glad I opted for the step stool over high heels. Just wanted to share that. All right, so thank you everyone for cheering our graduates. So I would like to ask just the graduates now to stand for brief closing remarks for me. So first of all, for everybody, please join me in congratulating the class of 2025 of Duke's Fuqua School of Business. Okay. So, and if the graduates can remain standing, others, you can do what you want in the stands. Okay, so, few more remarks. Today marks your transition from Fuqua student to Fuqua alumnus, a change that comes with incredible opportunities. You now have a strong foundation that will serve you throughout your career, built upon rigorous education and collaborative leadership. As a Fuqua alumnus, you're joining a prestigious network of 29,000, some of the brightest minds in business working across the globe. Your team just grew significantly. I'm also an alumna of this great institution. And 31 years ago, I received my PhD in business administration from Fuqua in what I hope is a fitting demonstration of scholarly symmetry. I returned to lead the very institution that taught me how to lead, that invested in me just as we invested in all of you. I hope this is a longitudinal study of Fuqua's impact. If I can provide one piece of advice to you today, it's this. Pursue excellence through meaningful connection. That includes the connections you've built here at Fuqua. Beyond campus, beyond this weekend, the relationships you forged will provide unique perspective down the road. Support each other along the way. What will distinguish you in your career isn't only what you've learned at Fuqua, but how you've learned to think analytically, collaboratively, and ethically. We truly hope you stay connected to Fuqua. Our institution is made so much better by your contributions to the world, and we predict you will make remarkable impact outside of these walls, and we hope you will come back to tell us about it. You have completed your formal education, but your pursuit of knowledge should never end. In the words of Plutarch, the mind is not a vessel to be filled, but a fire to be kindled. Please let your Fuqua education serve as that kindling for continued lifelong growth and learning. Be bold in your thinking, rigorous in your approach, and thoughtful in your leadership. Thank you again to our speaker, General Martin Dempsey. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. And thanks to Martin Dempsey for sharing his wisdom and time with us. All right, congratulations one more time, class of 2025, you did it! Yay! Excellent. All right, so I now ask families and friends and family to remain in your seats until first our platform party has recessed out of the auditorium and then our students have recessed out of the auditorium. Immediately after the ceremony, you are all invited to join us in a celebration honoring the class of 2025 with food and activities throughout the Fuqua building. Thank you for joining us this afternoon, and congratulations again to the class of 2025.